The more you speak, the more power you lose. That's not a quote from a modern thinker, that's Machiavelli whispering through time. And yet, in today's world, most people have built their own cages not with walls, but with words. You tell your friends your plans. You tell strangers your struggles. You explain yourself to people who don't even deserve an explanation. And then you wonder why your peace, your control, and your respect slowly vanish. Let me tell you something that'll sting for a second but free you forever: you talk too much. And that's exactly why people can predict you, control you, and eventually, defeat you. Because when you reveal everything, your goals, your emotions, your reactions, you hand people the blueprint to your mind. And the world? It loves to build weapons from what you give away. In this video, I'm going to show you what Niccolò Machiavelli understood centuries ago: that silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's not absence of words. It's presence of power. And once you master it, you'll never be manipulated the same way again. Think about this: how many times have you told someone your plan, only to watch it fall apart? Not because you failed, but because suddenly, people started doubting, criticizing, or quietly competing with you. That's not coincidence. That's psychology. Humans are wired to resist what they can't control. And the moment they understand your moves, they start preparing countermoves. But when you say less, they can't predict you. When you reveal less, they can't attack you. When you stay silent, you become dangerous. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said, "The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances." Because the crowd only sees what you show. And if you show too much, you make yourself ordinary, predictable, defeatable. But here's where it gets darker: you think your honesty buys trust. You think explaining yourself makes people understand you. It doesn't. It just gives them more to use against you later. Silence, on the other hand, creates mystery. Mystery creates respect. And respect builds power. That's why the quiet ones always seem powerful, not because they know everything, but because nobody knows what they're thinking. And in a world where everyone is screaming for attention, silence becomes intimidating. Machiavelli lived in a world of kings, betrayal, and blood. One careless sentence could mean death. Today, your words might not cost your life, but they cost your opportunities, your influence, and your peace of mind. That's why those who learn the art of strategic silence still rule the modern world. They don't explain. They act. They don't argue. They observe. They don't reveal. They calculate. And that's exactly what you'll learn today: how to use silence as a weapon. How to talk less, mean more, and win without ever needing to prove yourself. You've been taught to speak your truth. But nobody told you that the more you speak, the more others own your truth. You've been told communication solves everything, but the wrong kind of communication destroys your power. Every time you overshare your goals, you invite sabotage. Every time you justify your boundaries, you weaken them. Every time you explain your worth, you make it negotiable. So if you've ever felt drained after explaining yourself, if you've ever regretted saying too much, if you've ever realized that silence would have protected you, then this video is going to change how you see everything. Because by the end, you'll understand exactly what Machiavelli meant when he said, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." We'll go deeper into the cost of unnecessary speech and how it kills authority, confidence, and control. You'll see how silence builds mystique and how Machiavellian thinkers use it to dominate social dynamics, relationships, and negotiations. Because once you realize that the loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control, you'll never look at words the same again. Let me tell you something Machiavelli understood centuries before social media existed: words are currency, and most people spend theirs recklessly. Every time you explain yourself, defend yourself, or reveal your plans, you're spending power. Every apology you didn't need to give, every secret you shared too early, every time you said, "I just wanted to be honest," you were paying a price and you didn't even know it. The modern world rewards expression but punishes exposure. We're told to be transparent, share everything, communicate openly. But here's the truth Machiavelli would whisper to you if he were alive today: transparency makes you predictable, and predictability kills power. There's a dangerous lie in today's culture, that openness equals strength. That if you tell people everything, they'll trust you more. But real psychology says the opposite: people don't respect what they can fully access. Imagine this. You meet two people. One talks endlessly about their goals, fears, dreams, and plans. The other listens quietly, smiles, and says almost nothing. Who do you find more interesting? Who do you respect more? Exactly. That's the paradox Machiavelli mastered. The less you reveal, the more people want to know. Silence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates power. He once wrote, "The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances. What they can see, they judge. What they cannot see, they fear. And that fear, that uncertainty, becomes your invisible armor." When you talk too much, you do three things that destroy your power. 1. You create commitments. Every word is a contract you sign in someone else's mind. Say you'll do something and suddenly, they expect it. Change your mind later, and you're called inconsistent, unreliable, fake. But if you stay silent about your plans, you keep your freedom. You can adapt, pivot, evolve without explanation, without apology. 2. You expose your mind. Every explanation you give is a map of how you think. And that map lets others predict, manipulate, or disarm you. That's why Machiavelli said, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. He didn't just mean your allies, he meant your words. The people who speak too much reveal who they keep close, what they fear, and where they're weak. 3. You lose mystique. Mystique is your aura, that unspoken presence that makes people pay attention before you even speak. But when you over-explain, you burn that aura. You become ordinary, another person trying to prove something. And once people think they know you completely, they stop respecting you. The human mind respects distance. It reveres what it can't fully touch. That's why the loud are mocked, and the silent are studied. Think back, how many times have you told a friend about a dream or a plan, and suddenly things went wrong? Not because you failed, but because something shifted. Maybe they doubted you. Maybe they envied you. Maybe their subtle words of discouragement changed your energy. That's not superstition. That's psychological interference, the silent war of influence that Machiavelli mastered. He understood that when you share your intentions, you invite others' emotions into your reality: their jealousy, their fear, their skepticism. Their words plant doubts. Their presence changes your confidence. And before you even begin, your plan has already been contaminated. That's why the most successful people don't announce. They execute. They move in silence and let the results make the noise. The loud crave attention. The powerful create tension. Every time you explain yourself, you lower your value. Every time you reveal your feelings to those who haven't earned them, you make them your judge. Every time you defend yourself to someone who already decided not to understand you, you give them authority over your peace. Machiavelli would tell you words should serve your strategy, not your emotions. The more you talk, the less you listen. The less you listen, the less you learn. And the less you learn, the easier it is for others to use your noise against you. That's why those who stay silent always seem one step ahead, because while others are busy speaking, they're watching, calculating, and preparing. Silence isn't about avoiding conversation. It's about choosing when your voice becomes a weapon instead of a weakness. So the next time you feel the urge to explain, defend, or overshare, stop and remember this. Every word you say is a doorway, and once opened, you can't close it again. He who does not reveal his intentions, rules the room. Machiavelli, 16th century Florence. Most people think silence is absence. Machiavelli knew it was influence. He watched princes rise and fall not because they lacked soldiers but because they couldn't keep quiet. One word to the wrong ear, and the throne turned into a grave. That's not medieval paranoia. That's human nature. Even now, centuries later, the battlefield has only changed its walls: social media instead of castles, friends instead of spies. But the mistake is the same: people talk themselves out of power. When you stay silent, you trigger 3 psychological reactions in others that Machiavelli understood deeply. 1. Projection. People fill the silence with their own fears and fantasies. They imagine you know something they don't. They assume you're stronger, smarter, or more dangerous than you really are. That illusion gives you control without action. 2. Curiosity. Humans can't stand an information gap. They start chasing what you're not saying. In that chase, you become the center of their focus, exactly where power lives. 3. Discomfort. Silence creates pressure. Most people try to escape it by speaking, revealing, confessing. You don't have to trap them, they trap themselves. Machiavelli called this, the art of using others to tell you what they fear most. It's how he advised princes to uncover loyalty without interrogation, just observation. When you walk into a room and say nothing, you control the frame. People turn to you subconsciously to measure the mood. It's why leaders speak last, because whoever speaks last defines reality. Try it. The next time you feel pressured to respond, pause. Let the silence stretch. Watch how the other person leans forward, tries to fill it, tries to explain. That's control without force. In negotiations, silence is a mirror. In relationships, it's a filter. In leadership, it's a crown. Those who master it don't need to prove their value because their presence already demands attention. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." What he meant was that distance creates discipline, and discipline creates respect. Silence builds that distance. It turns you from participant to observer, and observers see what talkers miss. You talk because you want to be understood. You explain because you fear being misjudged. But the truth is, people judge anyway. They twist your words to fit their narratives, their fears, their insecurities. You cannot control what they think, but you can control what they know. Machiavelli understood this pain too. Exiled, betrayed, his letters burned by those he once advised. And yet his silence became immortal. His book, The Prince, survived because he wrote for those who could read between the lines. That's your lesson too. The powerful never broadcast. They encode. They don't announce their moves, they make them feel inevitable. Remember this. Words are cheap when they serve your ego. They become gold when they serve your strategy. The weak seek validation through talking. The strong build reputation through restraint. The world is run by those who say less and mean more. By those who speak when it matters and stay silent when it hurts. And when they do speak, their words cut through like blades because they have been sharpened by silence. So from this moment on, don't just speak to be heard. Speak to be remembered. And when you feel the urge to defend, justify, or overshare, pause. Because the moment you control your tongue, you control the room. And the moment you control the room, you control your fate. You don't need to shout to win. You just need to shut up and let silence speak for you.